Hey guys, today I'll be explaining the algebra 3.3 quiz. Alright, so let's begin with question 1. What are the roots of x squared minus 4x plus 5 equals 0 over the set of complex numbers? Select all that apply. Alright, so guys, there are two ways to solve this. Either use a calculator, which are in fact allowed in the exam, or for example this came as a written part, or you just want to make sure, you can solve it manually. So I'm gonna show you how to solve it manually, which is always the safest option. But if you don't have time, always resort to the calculator. Alright, so let us begin. Now, to find these two, the roots, we're gonna use the rule called delta equals b squared minus 4ac. Alright, in this case, a, b, c, okay? We have a and b and c in this equation. A is 1, which is here. B is negative 4. And C is 5. Okay? Alright. So let's substitute it in the equation. B squared is negative 4. So B is negative 4. So B squared is going to be 16. Positive 16 because squared cancels negative. Minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is 5. Okay, now just solve it. You get 16 minus 4 times 1 is negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. So you put negative 20. Alright, so 16 minus 20 is equal to negative 4. Alright, so delta is negative 4. Now we want to put it in another form. Alright, and we want to add the I, the complex. We want to make it complex, right? So just let me remind you, I is equal to radical negative 1, and I squared is equal to negative 1. Alright, so since I squared is equal to negative 1, we can just put it like this, that delta equals 4i squared. Now that we have 4i squared, let's solve the second part, where we use a rule called negative b plus minus radical delta over 2a. Okay, in this case negative b would be negative 4, so it's going to be 4 plus minus radical 4i squared over 2 times a is 1, so it's just 2. Now, solve for it. Just solve. You're gonna get 4 plus minus. We're gonna take 4i squared out of the radical. So we're gonna cancel the radical. It will be 2i. Okay, over 2. We're not done. Now this, we can turn to this. I'll just erase this to make some space. So we continue above. It will become like this. 2 plus minus I, okay, over 2. Now you can cancel the 2's. You get 2 plus minus I, which basically means 2 plus I and 2 minus I. And indeed, we have 2 minus I and 2 plus I. That's it. So to recap, you're gonna use a root to find delta. Okay, it's going to be what's called negative b. Sorry, not this one. B squared minus 4ac. Alright, and then you're gonna use once you find delta. Oh, I forgot to say that if delta is negative, then it's complex, so you add I. But if delta is positive, it's real. Okay, so yeah, if delta is negative, it's complex, so you add I. But if delta is positive, so it's a real. But here we got delta as negative 4, remember? So it's complex, so you make it as 4i squared. Then we solve. Okay, So back to summarizing, once we get delta, we can substitute it in negative b plus minus radical delta over 2a. And then you just solve, and then you find the two roots, which are 2 minus I and 2 plus I. Alright, now moving on to the next question. Okay, this is really easy. This came in week 9 CA. Alright, so what you're gonna do here, you can do this on the calculator, but as always I prefer to do it manually just to be safe. Okay, just to make sure you didn't do any stupid mistake. Now you got I to the power of 12 minus I to the power of 7. So what do you do here? You make it I, because you're trying to what's it called, simplify this, express it in this form, right? A plus bi. So you're gonna put I to the power of 2, 6, minus I to the power of 6 times I. Okay, so you make both of them to the power of 6. Alright? So we know that I to the power of 2 is negative 1. Okay? So I to the power of 2 is negative 1. So you have negative 1 to the power of 6 minus I to the power of 6 times I. Okay? Now, negative 1 to the power of 6 is just positive 1, because any even exponent turns the negative into positive. Okay? So let's just erase this. It becomes 1 plus negative I to the power of 6 times I. Okay? Now we continue solving for the other side. We do negative I to the power of 2. Okay? What's it called? Let me just put it in either way. So you got 1 minus I to the power of 2, and then outside is to the power of 3, because 2 times 3 is 6, right? And then of course times I. We can't forget that. So again, I to the power of 2 is negative 1. So you got 1 minus negative 1 to the power of 3 times I. Okay? So we leave I as it is. Now we solve for negative 1 to the power of 3. Let's solve in the bracket first. So as usual, you always solve what's inside the bracket first. So since the negative 1 in the bracket is to the power of 3, it stays as it is, a negative 1, because it's odd, so it stays negative. So it becomes minus 1 times I, and here's 1, right? So the minus becomes positive. So positive 1 times I is just I. So we get 1 plus I. You got it? So here we just simplify it. We make it I to the power of 2. We try to make it to the power of 2 to make it as simple as possible, to get rid of the exponents. Alright? That's it. Feel free to go back to the question and rewatch it, and if you still don't understand, of course contact the QST members and we'll be glad to help. Alright, so now for question 3, part A. Which of the following is a factor of 45x squared plus 20 over the set of complex numbers? Select all that apply. Alright, so this is pretty easy. We're not going to use delta equals b minus 4ac. We're going to use a different one now, okay? So this requires a bunch of other steps. So 45x squared plus 20, right? We can factor, sorry, not 9. We can factor 5 out. You get 9x squared plus 4. Okay, now you factor it. Now let's factor this equation even further over the set of complex numbers, right? So you get 5. Right, before that we can make 9x squared minus 4i squared. Why? Because it's over the set of complex numbers, right? So since we're trying to find it over the set of complex numbers, we can show it in terms of I, right? And we can show it in terms of I by putting I to the power of 2. And if you can remember, I to the power of 2 is equal to -1. So -4 times -1 is just 4. So you can just distribute it in -4i squared. Alright, so it's the same as 9x squared plus 4. Now that we have it in this form, we can factor it. We put it like this: 5, 3x, okay, minus 4, what's it called? It will become 2i, okay, or 3x plus 2i. You just factor it normally, right? 9x squared, when you factor it, it becomes 3x on both sides, right? Now 4i squared, when you simplify it, it becomes 2i, right? So one's negative on one side and one's positive on one side, because when I do -2i times -2, it becomes -4i squared. That's how we factor it. Okay, we just factor it like we used to in grade 9. It's very simple. So again, you factor this: 9x squared minus 4i squared, 3x, and then -4i squared becomes -2i and plus 2i, okay? Because it's negative. If it was positive, it would be plus, but it's negative. So, okay, now we got it. We got 3x minus 2i and 3x plus 2i. And that's exactly the answer, okay? Now, factoring 45x squared plus 20 over the set of complex numbers gives, okay, we just put what we got, which is 3x plus 2i and 3x minus 2i. But except we put 5 at the beginning, right? In the first one we don't put 5 because they didn't ask for it. But in the second one they asked us to express it in full form. So with the roots we put 5 outside, okay? Because in the beginning we factored with the greatest common factor, which is 5, the GCF. All right. So hope you understood question 3. Now to go on to question 4. Okay, given two complex numbers, z equals -4 plus I and w equals 2 plus 6i. Fill in the blanks with the correct numbers. Okay, they just want us to use simple math, substitution. Now, 5, they gave us z, which is -4 plus I, minus 3, they gave us w, 2 plus 6i, they gave us z, we put it here, they gave us w, put it here. Now we just multiply them, distribute, you get -20 plus 5i minus 6 minus 18i. Because -3 times 2 is -6, and -3 times 6i is -18. Now just simplify. You get -20 plus -6 is -26. And then -18 plus 5 is -13i. Okay, don't forget the i. So it's -26 minus 13i. And that's exactly it. Okay? Now that's it for the first one. Now for the second one. 4 plus I, -4 plus I, sorry, plus 7w, 2 plus 6i. Now again, just distribute. You get -16 plus 4i plus 14 plus 42i. Now just add them up. -16 plus 14 is -2 plus 42i plus 4i is 46i. So the answer is -2 plus 46i. And that's exactly it. Okay? That's it for question 4. Now for question 5. Same thing. They give us z and w. Now we just substitute it. Z, they just want z, so we just put it as it is. -4 plus 9i plus w, which is 5 minus 6i. Okay, now add them up, you get sorry, not negative. You get 1 plus 3i. Okay, because -4 plus 5 is 1, and 9i minus 6i is 3i. So the answer is 1 plus 3i, which is exactly it for the first one. Second one, they want the same thing, but instead you have to subtract them. Okay, So just put the same numbers, negative 4 plus 9i minus, don't forget the minus, 5 minus 6i. Okay, right, positive 6i, because you put minus acts as a negative, right? So minus 5 minus 6i, just multiply it. It becomes minus 5 and positive 6i. Alright? Now just distribute it. Negative 4, negative 5 becomes negative 9. And 9i plus 6i becomes 15i. Okay? And that's it for the second one. Negative 9 plus 15i. Remember, because it's negative, you multiply the negative by w, which is this. So negative 5 plus 6i, that's why 6i became positive. And then we just add them up. You get negative 9 plus 15i. Alright? That's it. Now for question 6. They want us to find what is the value of x, where x and y are real numbers. Okay. So what we're gonna do here, when you get questions like these, always you separate the complex and the real numbers, okay? So now they want you to find the value of x, which is a real number. So you only solve for real numbers. You got 7x here, this is the only real number here. And on the other side, it's negative 21. That's the only real number. Because in the end, the brackets 4x minus 5i is 5y is multiplied by I. So it becomes complex. So the real numbers are 7x equals negative 21. Divide by 7, you get x equals negative 3. And that's exactly it. That's the value of x. Now, find the value of y. Now we got the complex numbers. Negative 8yi equals, we don't include the real numbers, they're always separated. Real by itself and complex numbers by itself. Okay, we got 4x minus 5y I. Just put negative 8yi equals 4xi. By the way, sorry, don't do that. Don't distribute. You can, to make things simpler, you can just cancel the i's here. Okay? Because there's I on both sides, just cancel them out. You get negative 8y equals 4x minus 5y. Okay? Negative 5y goes to the other side, it becomes negative 3y equals 4x. Wait, what? And then, wait 1 minute. Oh, I'm so stupid. I forgot we already found x. So we already have x, right? Negative 3. So we substitute x for negative 3. Negative 3 for x, sorry. So you have negative 3y equals 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Okay? Divide by negative 3 on both sides. You get y equals to 4. Because negative 12 divided by negative 3 is 4. That's how we got y. Okay? So we use what you got in the previous part. That's it. Always be aware of your environment and of what you got. Okay? To make sure you don't get stuck. Okay, they want us to multiply this time. They already gave us z and w, so we just multiply them. We got z, which is 5 plus 4i, times w, which is 2 minus I. Now, how we're gonna do this is, I usually like to put them in brackets, okay, to make things easier. So you do 5 times 2, which is 10, and then 5 times negative I is negative 5i, okay? You multiply like this. Now, for 4i plus 4i times 2 is 8i, and 4i times negative I is negative 4i squared. Okay? Now you just multiply for it. You just distribute. 10 is on its own. You got negative 5i plus 8i. You add them up, you get 3i, right? And then you got 10 and negative 4i squared. Remember, I squared is equal to negative 1. So negative 4 times negative 1 minute. So negative I squared acts as negative 1. So you just put negative 4 times negative 1 equals 4. So 10 plus 4 is equal to 14. So we got the I out of 8 minus 5i. 8i minus 5i is 3i. And 10 plus 4, which is negative 4 times I squared, which is negative 4 times negative 1, which is 4. So 10 plus 4 is 14. So 14 plus 3i. Remember, in standard form, I is always at the end, and the real number is always at the beginning. Okay? That's how it goes. That's how you put it in standard form if they ask you in the exam. Now, you want to find the roots of the equation x squared plus 6x plus 25 equals 0. Okay, here we use as the same question, the first question, use the same rule. Delta equals, b squared minus 4ac. You got. Now let's see, a is equal to, b is equal to, and c is equal to. A is equal to 1, b is equal to 6, and c is equal to 25. Okay? So let's just substitute it for its respective variable. B squared, which is 6 squared, 36, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 25. You get 36 minus 4 times 1 times 25, you get negative 64. Okay? So delta is equal to negative 64. And remember, when it's negative, it means it's complex. So you put it as delta equals 64 I squared. Okay? That's delta. Now, we use the second part, which is negative b plus minus radical delta over 2. Okay, now negative b, which is negative 6, plus minus radical delta, which we got as 64i squared. Okay, over 2. Alright, 2a, which is in the end just 1. So 2 times 1, which is 2. So now we do the same way as the first question. Negative 6 plus minus, we take it out of the radical, it becomes 8i over 2. Then we factor it, you get, let me erase this. You factor it, you get negative 6, never mind, sorry, factor it, yeah. You get 2, negative 3, plus, minus, 4i, okay, over 2, divide by 2, so you end up with negative 3 plus minus 4i. Plus minus basically means plus and minus, 2 cases, so it's 2 roots. Negative 3 plus 4i, and negative 3 minus 4i. And that's exactly what we got, negative 3 plus 4i, and negative 3 minus 4i. Okay? That's it. Okay, here again, same thing. We want to find the delta, right? We do b squared minus 4ac. We got a, b equal to, c equal to. We got a as 1, b as 10, and c as 41. Right, now just substitute it for its respective variable. B squared, which is 10, 10 squared, 100. 100 minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 41. Now just solve. 100 minus 4 times 1 times 41 is negative 64. We got the same delta as the last question. Since delta is negative, it's complex, so you put it as delta equals 64i squared. Alright? So that's it for the first part. We got the delta. Now to use the second part, which is negative b plus minus radical delta over 2a. Okay. Now negative b over here is negative 10 plus minus radical 64i squared over 2 times a, which is 1, so 2, it's only 2. Now to factor it, to take it out of the radical, it becomes negative 10 plus minus 8i over 2. Then you factor it, you get 2 times negative 5 plus minus 4i over 2. Cancel both 2's. You're left with negative 5 plus minus 4i, which is two cases. Negative 5 plus 4i and negative 5 minus 4i. But look here, they don't want us to express it in in only two roots. They want us to express it in the factored form. Alright? They don't want us to express it as roots. No, they want us to express it as factored forms. So how do you turn the roots back to the factored form? Pretty simple. Look, when you have the roots, you make it like this: x plus and x plus. Okay? Now you want to make the exact opposite. Okay? You got wait, I forgot. Yeah, you got negative 5 plus 4i and negative 5 minus 4i, right? So forget about the complex numbers. You want to get remember negative 5? We just make the opposite when we factor it. When it used to be factored, it used to be positive 5, right? Because x equals negative 5, we just turn it, we want it to reverse. So it becomes x plus 5 equals 0, right? So this is exactly the same thing. And instead of only having negative 5, you have plus 4i2, right? So it becomes x plus 5 minus 4i. And the same case for the other one. Becomes x plus 5 plus 4i, because it's negative here. Alright? So you got x plus 5, let me just write it in a neat way. X plus 5 minus 4i and x plus 5 plus 4i. Okay, and that's how you write it. X plus 5 plus 4i and x plus 5 minus 4i. Okay, this is in factored form. That's it. You just make it x, make it equal to x, since that's the root, and that's and then just flip it back to the x, to the side of the x. Okay, so you're basically like you're factoring, but just go in reverse. That's it. Now for question 10. Okay, like the other previous questions, they already gave us z and w. They want us to substitute, and we can do that. So z is negative 4 plus 9i. So 2 times negative 4 plus 9i plus 4 times 5 minus 6i. Okay? Now just do negative 8 plus 18i plus 20 minus 24i. Okay? Now you just substitute it. Sorry, not substitute it. You just add them up. You get 20 minus 8, which is 12, plus negative 24 plus 18 is negative 6i. Okay? And you put it like that. 12 plus negative 6i. Okay, that's for the first part. Now for the second part. 5 times z, negative 4 plus 9i, minus w. You divide it, multiply it by negative, so you get negative 5 plus 6i. So you just distribute it here. You get negative 20 plus 45i minus 5 plus 6i. Okay? Now just add them up. Negative 20 and negative 5, you get negative 25. Okay, cross them out. 45i plus 6i, you get 51i. 51i, okay? And that's exactly it. Negative 25 plus 51i. Alright? That's it for question 10. Now moving on to question 11. Okay. So you got negative 3 plus 2i times 5 minus 9i. Okay? You multiply them together. You put negative 3 times 5 and negative 3 times negative 9i. You get negative 15 plus 27i. Okay? That's for 3. And then 2i times 5 and 2i times negative 9. You get plus 2i times 5 is 10i. 2i times negative 9 is negative 18i squared. Okay? Now just add them up. Equal to negative 15 is alone. 27i plus 10i is 37i, right? So you put 37i. Now negative 18i squared, as we said, I squared is negative 1, is equal to negative 1. Sorry, that looks autistic. Negative 18 I squared is basically negative 18 times negative 1. So you get 18. So 18 minus 15 is 3. So 3 plus 37i. And that's it for this question and for this quiz. Alright? Hope you understood, guys. And if you didn't understand any question, like I said before, go over the quiz again, go over the video again. And if you still don't understand, don't hesitate to reach out to the QST members through the group or through direct contact, like messages. Okay? Alright, best of luck, guys, and see you soon.